Good morning and welcome to the JMCSS podcast for the district. I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for the Jackson-Madison County School System. The Northside Indians have a new football coach. His resume is impressive and his vision for the program is electric. We'll introduce you to Woodrow Lowe Jr. in a moment, the new head coach of the Northside Indians. But first, for the district, the JMCSS podcast is a production of the Jackson-Madison County School System in partnership with Forever Communications. You can listen to this episode on demand on Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. So now help me welcome Woodrow Lowe Jr. to the show. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for having me here.
So let's start from the beginning. I think one of the things that stood out for me when I saw, these candidates that Dr. Catlett and Mr. Bridgman and the team were interviewing, your resume is extensive, dating back really to your childhood. What was it like growing up the son of an NFL player?
It was different. You really didn't realize that I was a son of somebody who was famous. He was just dad to you, just growing up. So probably when I was about 15, 16, I went to the University of Alabama and I saw a whole bunch of stuff on him. I was like, wow, he must have been pretty good. So, but quite natural growing up. He's in NFL, he's in college. You realize that it's a difference. He's top of what he does professionally.
At what point in your development did you figure out, one, I'm interested in football, two, that's what I want to do for my career?
Well, it's one of those deals when anytime you go anywhere, anytime, when you're younger, anybody you meet, they always ask you going to be like your dad when you grow up. And you like, I don't know. You know what I mean? I don't know. But you realize that you're around it. You pick up on a lot of little tidbits and everything. And, you just kind of fall into it, It hadn't been a year of my life where I hadn't been involved in some kind of football program or some kind of, either directly or indirectly.
We know you met with the football players at Northside, and we'll talk about that in a moment, but this is an opportunity for the families and the communities to get to know you. So your father, Woodrow Lowe Sr., spent a decade in the NFL as a lineman.
As a linebacker.
Linebacker. So playing on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
What was that like, getting to see both sides of the country?
Well, it happened every year. Like I said, you don't realize what's going on. You just do what, your parents tell you to do. But we move every 6 months out of the year, going back and forth from Phoenix City, Alabama, which is a little country town, to San Diego, California. And it just what it was. So,
talk about your development. In your background, you were an assistant at the college level.
Mm-hmm.
You actually coached some professional football in the Canadian Football League, or XFL.
XFL.
Talk about your development, to what got you to where you are now.
Well, I started relatively young. It was a gentleman named John Jenkins who hired me. It was an arena team, an AF2 team named the Arkansas Twisters in Little Rock. And John Jenkins, he was he's not the founder, but he was trained up under the founder called Miles Davis for the run and shoot offense. Okay. And he became the head coach at the University of Houston, where he had David Klinger, Andre Ware, and all those guys. And that's when I started, that's when that was my introduction to bigger time football and, X's and O's. And from there, I was hired in the XFL. That was the first time it had around. Worked under Jerry DiNardo. He was he coached at LSU and went to University of Alabama after that to coach as a graduate assistant coach, helping the offensive line, and I did some defensive stuff too. But that's where I pretty much cut my teeth. Learned under those guys, learning under those type of coaches.
We're visiting with Woodrow Lowe Jr. He's the new head coach of the Northside football team. One of the things that jumped off the page, and you had a presentation for Dr. Catlett, Mr. Bridgman, and the team through the interview process. You are a very community-minded guy. Mm-hmm. Talk about some of the community initiatives, and I think about, was it the 7-on-7 program you started? Mm-hmm. Talk about that before we get in particular into your head coaching experience at the high school level.
Well, I believe you have to be involved in your community. Whether you're doing like little league youth sports or whether you're doing older stuff like with the 7-on-7. I've done it all. But you want to try to get to me. Like I say, football is everything. I've done. Everything I have from the football. Pretty much, and that's I have that mindset because I've seen it do so much for other people, and myself particularly. So me introducing people to the sports and young men to the sport is what I like to do. And the 7-on-7 piece of it, the reason that I started the 7-on-7 piece was both of my boys played 7-on-7 for an organization called Tennessee Select. And I still do things with Tennessee Select and trying to help them. But but that is just a form of being able to network for young men and coaches to be able to see, their potential in the game of 7-on-7. I'm not a particular fan of the actual 7-on-7 sports, but I am a fan of what it can do for them. So, I started an organization trying to get kids to do 7-on-7. Play 7-on-7.
Woodrow Lowe Jr., the new head coach of the Northside Indian football team. Talk about your stops in Tennessee. You've been the head coach, actually, if you look at the numbers, the second all-time winningest coach at Fayette Ware in your time there, and then also Bolivar Central. Talk about those two stops.
Bolivar was one of the first places that do I need to look this way?
Oh, you're fine.
Okay. Yeah, Bolivar was one of the first places that hired. They were the first place that hired me when I first moved to Tennessee. We moved to Tennessee in 2012. And they hired me as assistant, and then they ended up bringing me back as a coach. And I have, they're like family to this day. I still talk to people from Bolivar, but it was a program that was, was in a lose. I think they were like 7-23 the 3 years before I got there, so they weren't very productive, and it kind of caught fire. We kind of caught lightning in the ball, and we were pretty successful there. At Fayette Ware, same thing, same similar. We kind of caught, we won the district championship in my first year. In the second year, we were able to keep that momentum going. Also, in this past year, we weren't as productive, but we were productive in terms of we had the number one rushing offense in the Memphis metro area, which was pretty good. We averaged like 320 yards a game or something like that. I can't remember, but we were productive. It was just that. It was time to move on, and that's why I'm here now.
Awesome. Woodrow Lowe Jr., the new head coach of the Tribe at Northside High School. When we come back from the break, we'll ask him what about Northside was appealing to you, and then also we'll talk about your family because we know 2 of your 3 sons are playing college football right now.
Sir.
You're listening to For the District, the JMCSS podcast on JJ 97.7 FM.
Hi, I'm Tad Pohl, host of the Morning Splash on Froggy 104, and a proud JMCSS parent. My wife and I chose Jackson-Madison County Schools for our kids. Brooklyn is an honor roll student who has found an aptitude for art and is also a member of her school choir. And the twins are getting excellent instruction in pre-K and learning valuable social skills. The kids love their schools and their teachers, and we are very proud to be JMCSS parents. Jackson-Madison County School System is a Level 5 district and tuition-free. It just makes sense.
Hi, I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for the Jackson-Madison County School System. With an increased focus in the fine arts, athletics, workforce development, and early career opportunities for students, there's never been a better time to choose us. Tuition-free, Jackson-Madison County Schools. Visit jmcss.org today to schedule a tour or call 731-345-7011.
I'm Takaya, a star student at Arlington Elementary. You're watching For the District. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to For the District, the JMCSS podcast. That's right, Jackson-Madison County Schools on JJ 97.7 FM. We're joined by the new head coach of the Tribe, Woodrow Lowe Jr. Coach, you met with the Northside football team recently. What was that first visit like with the guys?
That's the most important meeting of the start of all of this with those kids. So It was pretty good. We had a lot of kids there. I liked it. They were engaged, and I think that we got them a little fired up. I mean, the purpose of the meeting is I want to give them an introduction to who I am as a person and what they can expect out of the program. And they saw a lot of little nice things and things that that they'll have, so they'll benefit from.
Those 3 things that I know that are important to you as a coach. You talk about you're going to help develop the student athlete mentally. You're going to help develop that student athlete physically, and then socially. Kind of talk about those 3 items. I know they're important to you. They were in your presentation, and I'm going to guess those 3 items have been your focus for your stops.
Oh yeah, the mental probably is the one that I take to heart the most. I think the mental is one of the most important aspects of development of a player development, is that you got to understand that everything matters. It's about the process. Don't worry about what happens, overall. Don't worry about the results. Worry about what you're doing on a daily basis to attain those results. So that's very important. The first thing I'm gonna do with all of them is meet with them individually, interview them, and try to set some goals. And
even the sophomores,
everybody, even the freshmen.
All right,
we'll sit down, get them goal oriented, and try to get them to reach those goals. Second is physical, and the physical portion of it is we got to pound the weight room. We got to hit those weights. We got to run. We got to do all the development. We got to do things and the skills that are needed to be successful at football. And we'll hit that. And the social, that's just a lot of times a lot of these kids, you see them every time you see them, they're in their phones. They're like walking zombies.
Yeah. And it's not for work, right?
yeah. And we want them to be able to interact with each other, people, and all of that stuff. So the social skills aspect, that's something that's fallen a little bit. We want that to mean a little bit more. Also, my wife being in media, she always wants, kids to, know how to talk when they get, some of these kids who will be big time prospects. They're gonna have to do a lot of interviews, especially when teams recruit them. The recruiting people call them and want to interview them. So we want them to be prepared. Want our kids to be prepared for all that stuff.
For the benefit of listeners who may not know, your wife is a prominent news anchor in Memphis. Share that information with them.
Oh yeah, she's the morning news anchor for WREG Channel 3 in Memphis, Zanetta Lowe. So
very cool. Goal setting and accountability. Coach, it used to be at one time, I guess, the 80s and 90s and before then, there was this social peer pressure, and it was mostly positive, that a young person was going to do something. They were either going to be in the band, they were either going to play football, they were either going to play baseball, they were going to be in the beta club, they were going to do something. That's not necessarily the culture in our world right now. So how do you reach those kids to get them to find their thing?
Well, you have to communicate with them. You have to talk to them. You have to continually encourage them to try to do more. I'm always one of those people who, what are you doing? Well, I mean, we got to do more than what we're actually doing. Try to find something new to do on a daily basis. But you're right. I mean, it's a little bit different than when we were growing up. You drive down the street nowadays, you don't see as many kids out playing. It was a time where, when we were growing up, it's you outside, what I mean? Yeah. Until the sun comes, till the sun goes down. Yeah. So
is that something you want to help recapture?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So, you were hired. We sent out the press release. Talked to some alumni. Greg, I know you're going to be talking to them soon. Ask them this. Greg, ask them that. So I have, if it's okay, I have a couple of, I guess, rapid fire questions for you. First question. How does he plan on getting more kids walking the halls to play football? And if you'll allow me to expand on that, Coach, when you think about the fact that we have seven or eight high school football teams in Madison County, and so thinking about the numbers kind of being spread out anyway, I think that this question makes sense. So how do you plan to get more kids that are walking the halls to participate in football?
Well, the first thing we'll have I've already talked about this is we have the first group would be the kids who hadn't played yet. We'll have a group for them. We'll call them the Blues Brothers, and we'll try to slowly walk them into trying to be part of the the group.
You already have a name for them.
Oh yeah. I have a name everywhere I've been. Know, so in Bolivar it was Gang Green.
So the Blues Brothers. Why that name? What does that mean? Talk about that.
That means that's their first time ever, trying to play football, and we just want to get them. It's more similar like to a walk-on program or something, but they aren't ready to do what the other players, or the players that are already on the team can do. So you have to gently walk them into it and try to, build them up a little bit, because a lot of times if they first get out there, they're not ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they kind of get discouraged and stuff. So that's one way you can, retain them, and you just build them up and try to, until they can make it to the summertime, until they make it to the next year. So, and a lot of those kids will be playing on your JV team, So.
And reading your bio, it was, folks, what was it? An 80-page PowerPoint presentation. Coach Lowe is serious about football and character building. And so as I looked through that presentation, I saw that, at Bolivar, at Fayette Ware, you increased the number of students who were on the team. And so, okay, so the Blues Brothers. Anything else you want to mention now? You don't have to necessarily. But
well, we had a ninth grade. We have a ninth grade program too. Where it's and I had them in Bolivar. I didn't have this in Fayette Ware, but I would like to get it here. But we had a ninth grade program where I had them in class. Actually, had them in class for health and wellness, and I used that. I incorporated, mentoring and character development and all that stuff with it, So they came in, and we lifted weights from time to time, but it was mainly about getting them bought in and getting them, develop them as a person, So when the year rolled around, they were a little bit less inclined they weren't inclined to quit, on me, so because we had developed that relationship so well.
Coach, are you trying to tell me football is more than just X's and O's?
Oh, it's 100% more than X's and O's. It isn't. It's way more than X's and O's. That's a small scale of what it actually is. To be honest with you.
Another question from the alumni I talked to earlier. Let's see. What is the hiring process of hiring assistant coaches? Of course, you've been in it for more than 25 years. I'm sure you got people knocking down your door to come win again. With Coach Lowe. So what is that process?
Well, I'm bringing 2, possibly 3 with me. And I have one gentleman who I hired him for my first head coaching job in Selma, Alabama. This was in 03. And and when I took over in Bolivar, he came with me. And when I took over in Fayette Ware, he came with me. And he's coming with me now. So he does my director of football operations. His name is Mark Fedor. He'll be with us eventually. I don't know when, but right. I hope eventually.
Gotcha.
So but I'm bringing 2 with me, possibly 3, and I interview all the coaches that are currently on staff and see who's willing, who may be a fit, and then we'll open it up for we'll post job posts and see if there's any qualified candidates.
Awesome. Well. In a perfect world, and I know all coaches are limited by budgets, but in a perfect world at the high school level, how many assistant coaches would 15. You have? In a perfect world, at the high school level, which is commonplace in Alabama, but to the folks in Madison County, Jackson, Tennessee, that may seem like a lot, but that's what it takes to.
15.
Yeah,
and that's for all. I mean, that's for all 3 programs.
Gotcha.
Of the 9th grade, junior varsity, and varsity.
Gotcha. Let's see. One more question. Okay, so not being a quote unquote Jackson guy. And it's funny because, I'm from Bemis, I'm from South Jackson. Yeah. So Dr. King always gives me a hard time about, small town politics and being kind of set in your ways. So I think this question may be coming from that angle. Okay. Will anyone on your staff understand the school culture, the expectations, and the importance of alumni relationships. So is there anything you can point to in your past that would suggest that's part of your game plan?
Well, that's very important. But if you go back to the hiring process, to me, that's a big hire. Somebody who's been in the community that may have played at Northside, who definitely grew up in Jackson area. I think that's important. For the ground level. You know what I mean? For just that you always have that resource to bounce back from. Okay, what area is this? This family. So that to me, that's just as important as somebody who's a coordinator. So. I'm looking around for that person.
And in the short amount of time I spent in coaching, it was a cup of coffee. I was there. I did it long enough for a cup of coffee. When you mention going all the way back to 2001 or 2003, these relationships you built, because you spend so much time with these people, it's important for you to know the people, not only that you have to spend, 15 hours a day with sometimes, but also those are the kids, these are the people that are impacting your student athletes in the way that they need to be impacted.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. They're extension of me. So we definitely, it's definitely important to hire the positive people.
He's Woodrow Lowe Jr. He's the new head coach of the Northside Indians football team. And we haven't even talked about the bowl games or your boys. Let's get one more. We'll get one more timeout and come back, and then we'll talk family. Okay. We're visiting with Woodrow Lowe Jr. He's the new head coach of the Northside Indians football team. You're listening to For the District. It's the podcast for the Jackson-Madison County School System on JJ 97.7 FM.
Hi, I'm Terica Smith, a local attorney and proud JMCSS graduate, but I'm also a JMCSS parent. We chose Jackson-Madison County Schools for educational options that are innovative and challenging. Whether it's the Academic Academy at Northeast or early college and career opportunities at JCM Early College High, JMCSS offers classes and programs that will prepare my son for college and beyond. Plus, JMCSS is a Level 5 district and tuition free. It just makes sense.
Hi, I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for the Jackson-Madison County School System. With an increased focus in the fine arts, athletics, workforce development, and early career opportunities for students, there's never been a better time to choose us. Tuition-free Jackson-Madison County Schools. Visit jmcss.org today to schedule a tour or call 731-345-7011.
Hello, I'm Camden Womack, a star student at Arlington Elementary, and you're watching For the District. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to For the District, the JMCSS podcast on JJ 97.7 FM. I'm Greg Hammond, Chief of Public Information for the Jackson-Madison County School System, and it is my privilege to be joined by the new head coach of the Northside Indians, Woodrow Lowe Jr. Coach, do they just call you Coach Lowe, or do you have a nickname? Is it just Coach Lowe?
It's Coach Lowe.
All right, cool. I wanted to talk a minute about your family. Mm-hmm. You have 3 sons. 2 of your sons are college football players, college quarterbacks. Sports fans will remember your son Trey because they probably saw him at some point pass through here playing some teams. Talk about that experience, because now he's the starting quarterback at Southern Miss. Mm-hmm. He got his undergraduate degree at West Virginia, playing 2 sports at the college level, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. Talk about your sons. Let's start with your oldest son, Trey, and your experience as a coach and a father helping him get to where he is today.
Mm-hmm. Well, you go back to my coaching history. I made a decision that I was going to coach my kids. That's always been important to me. When I got out of the college coaching game. So growing up, we started like when he was 8 years old, teaching him the fundamentals of quarter. We knew he would be a quarterback when he got in high school. So we started the development with that pretty early. So that wasn't a surprise. He also was a baseball player, so he's been playing baseball since he was 5. So you're just going back and forth with those 2 sports, and I mean, the portion of being a dad and also coaching your quarterback. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. But he's a tremendous young man. Proud of him.
Your middle son, Kyle. I'm told one of the best athletes you've ever seen, and you've seen a lot. Talk about your middle son, Kyle. He's at MTSU.
Yeah, he's at MTSU. Same thing. Both Trey and Kyle are tremendous student athletes, and that's what I talked about in the meeting with the players. Is that's where it all starts, And Kyle won the academic award at MTSU this past. I mean, that was actually this week.
Oh, wow.
Where they actually, the banquet they had a week. He won the academic award for freshman, and that was the best.
Because if he wanted to, he could have been playing Ivy League football.
Yeah. In a year's time, he will be considered he'll be after this semester he'll be a junior in college, and he hadn't even been there a year. So that's what I'm proud of. And my oldest Trey, he has his undergraduate degree, master's degree. He's in the second year's doctoral program in 5 years. So. He, that's what what I mean. I look up to them because it took me forever. Feel like so to get one degree. So that's what I'm most proud of.
Well, that's a testament to you and your wife and the character development you all did with your sons. Question: how will their experiences help the students that you're coaching now? Because it would seem that they could be. The model.
Oh, yeah. Well, my expectation doesn't change. Just because they're my son, just because you're my player, my expectation level for you doesn't change. And I told them that too as well. I like here are examples of what it is when you buy into a program and you buy into yourself. And most importantly, you take ownership of your own future. And the quicker that can happen, the better off. Y'all will be as a player, as a student athlete. So I mean, they're tremendous models. I have several of them. They're just not the only ones. But I've had almost 100 kids go to college. So, but they're at the front and foremost. I got another kid that's a Southern Miss with Trey. that I coached at Bolivar. His name Bryson Mays, and the same thing. Just a great student athlete. So. I'm proud of a lot of them, but like you say, it serves as a model, and they're my own kids. So,
where would you like to see this Northside High School program in 3 years?
I want to see on signing day stage about 10 to 12 kids signing letter of intent to go to college to play football. That's what I would like to see. The wins and losses are going to come when the character comes. But I know I want the best for them individually.
Now, parents or people might hear that to say, oh, he wants them that day. They're going to college. But then thinking about everything they'll have to accomplish to get to that point, I think is what gets me excited because they're winning academically, they're high character kids, and you will have won a lot of football games too.
Oh yeah, and then not just that. For the kids who don't go to college, I want to see them, be better men because of that experience, and that's the most important. That's winning to me. That you got kids in the community that are productive citizens, and they're men. They're real men. You know what I mean? That know how to do and know how to work themselves through problems.
Woodrow Lowe Jr. is the head coach of the Northside Indians. If you're interested, if you're an alum hearing this, reach out to Principal Dr. Brian Chandler. You can always send an email to comments@jmcss.org. And we will send those to the direct department. So it may be that you're a Southside graduate and you're hearing this Northside conversation, and maybe you want to get involved in the Booster Club at Northside, at Southside, at JCM. Send an email to comments@jmcss.org, and whether it's Liberty or whatever school, we'll make sure that that information and your questions get to the right campuses. Coach, Thanks so much for joining us. It was a pleasure meeting you. Remember, you can check out this episode and others on demand on our YouTube channel, Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you check out your favorite podcast. I'm Greg Hammond saying have a great Sunday and a great weekend.